I'm really excited about today because we have something that I think is going to be very appealing to homeowners. I'm going to lay out what I think is a revolutionary way to not only reduce property taxes more, but to speed it up for a lot of homeowners. But first, I want to go back and look at a little history and talk about that. I came to the Capitol in 2003. Wasn't in office. I didn't show up in office until 2007 with 2 busloads of constituents, listeners to my radio talk show back then, along with Paul Betancourt, who's now a senator and the tax guru for us. He knows more about it than just about anyone. And we came up here because back in 2003, we thought property taxes were too high. And when I ran for the Senate, I tried to pass a couple of bills, and there were long and strong opposition from various lobbies, cities and counties, school districts. And so we tried, but the votes weren't there. When you become lieutenant governor, you have a little bit more clout to get things done. And so if you go back to 2015, the homestead exemption was $15,000. It had been that way since 1997. It was stuck at $15,000. So the first session, and you know, I always say we because we work together. It takes the Senate, it takes the House, it takes the governor to sign the bills and the budget. But it was really something that I thought was the best way to go to save people on their property taxes. So we increased it to $25,000. In 2017, $40,000. And then we got to $100,000. And then last session, this past session, the governor, the speaker, myself, at breakfast, a little history on that, early in session, Dustin and I were talking about it and said, we think we can go to $200,000 for seniors and $140,000 for non-seniors. Now, I want to put this in perspective for you, and thank you all for showing up. But sometimes the media doesn't report all these numbers, and I think it helps for people to understand what that means. The median home in Texas is $332,000. That's the median price. The median home buyer is 58 years, not home buyer, homeowner. The median homeowner, I don't do this with notes, so you know, I just know this, but working on it a long time. The median homeowner is 58, and the median new homeowner is 35. So when you have the median home price of $332,000, you can see when we passed the $200,000 home exemption this past November that it made a big difference to people. In fact, I don't think I've ever received such a really good response just walking around. People come up and say, Dan, you guys really did it. My school taxes have disappeared for me, or virtually disappeared. Today, the average senior homeowner in Texas no longer pays school taxes for the rest of their life. When they turn 65, their values are frozen, and it will only go down moving forward. And those under 65, over the last several years, combination of homestead and compression, they're seeing their property taxes for schools, their school property taxes, go down 45 to 50%. In the last several years, the average Texas homeowner has saved $2,000 on their property taxes by homestead exemptions going up and some compression that we work in there. But that's not enough, and we all know that's not enough. So I sat around with my team, Brian, Joaquin, and Mike, who are the best finance guys I know, and Senator Betancourt, and some people from the private sector, and we thought, how can we do better, faster? And we were having lunch, and a thought came to me, and we called it Operation Double Nickel. We've kept it secret because sometimes when you're working on legislation and it gets out, people want to turn it upside down before you get it out. What's Operation Double Nickel? What's revolutionary? I don't want to make anyone who's 55 feel old, although you can go to Denny's and get the Grand Slam breakfast at 55. They consider you a senior. I don't consider seniors 55. But in this case, I want to treat them like a senior who's 65. So part one of my tax plan. We're going to take the senior homestead exemption where your taxes are frozen and your values are frozen down to 55. Now this is huge. What does that mean? That means for an extra 10 years, from 55 to 65, your values are frozen. You don't ever have to worry about appraisals anymore. And by the way, how many homeowners is that? So we have about 6.1 million homeowners in Texas. 3.3 million homeowners will have their values frozen, and their taxes will continue to go down, and they won't even have an issue with appraisals anymore. So Operation Double Nickel is 55. We're going to take the homestead exemption that now goes to 65 down to 55. Let me tell you something else this does. You know, if you're 65, maybe you live in your home another 10 years before you maybe downsize or move into an apartment. This now gives a homeowner who's 55, let's say they're still living in it at 80. That's a big deal. It's 25 years of values frozen. And how much does this mean to those who are 55? It's going to mean about an extra $900 to $1,000 a year today, which over 10 years, from 55 to 65, is about $10,000. That's real money. Real money. And as we continue to add to the homestead exemption, which I believe we will because it's so popular and it works, it's the best way to cut property taxes, that will only go lower, and your sales and your school taxes will, the savings will even be more. So that's part one. Operation Double Nickel, 65 to 55. Again, this means about 3.3 million homeowners out of 6 million homeowners. Values are frozen. Appraisals will never matter again. Part two. I love homestead exemptions. Someone said, you're the father of homestead exemptions. I said, I don't know about that, but I like them. Why do I like them? Why do people keep voting for them? 79%, I think, last November. The year before that, it was 80-some thousand, because people understand them. Because they're permanent. When they vote on an amendment, they're in the Constitution. You can never take it away. With compression, which is a way of compressing and reducing the tax rate, that can go away at any time. So I'm proposing we add another $40,000 to the homestead exemption next session. So that would take seniors 240,000 and take those under 65, or now under 55, to $180,000. And we can do this. We can afford it. This whole plan for the biennium is going to be a little less than $4 billion to take you from 65 to 55 and to increase the homestead exemption. By the way, if the governor or the speaker want to add to this, and we have the dollars, and we want to make it increase it to 50,000, we are on a path now to eliminate school property taxes for every homeowner in Texas in the next few years, no matter their age. We've already done it now for seniors. We are going to expedite this for those 55 now, getting 10 more years of savings. And I believe in the next few sessions, we're going to be able to eliminate school property taxes with homestead exemptions. Third part of the plan, because this is important. The legislature deals with school property taxes, but you have local property taxes. We need to pass legislation, and we've begun working on this with a 3.5% cap on spending for local cities and counties. We need to continue to put emphasis on lowering the other part of your property tax bill. We have to have growth, though. You have to allow our cities and counties to breathe and grow, because the Texas Miracle is about growth. In 2000, there were about 18 million Texans. Today, close to 30 million Texans. And in another 15 years, there may be 45 million Texans. Well, we have to build schools. We have to give police officers a raise. We have to build infrastructure. But the message to our local governments is, you need to be responsible with how you spend your money and be very careful about it. Because we want to keep the property taxes on the city and county side as low as we can make it. And this will be something that we'll work through with the legislature. The House, the Senate, rural, urban, suburban, Republicans, Democrats, will come up with improving that and be looking to work with everybody on that issue. So I want to talk about the homestead and the compression for a minute. For every $1 billion that we invest in homestead exemptions that go in our budget, we have to pay for it, you get about $130 savings. For every $1 billion of compression, which is reducing the tax rate, you get about $30. So if we spend $10 billion on homestead exemption, that's a $1,300 savings on average. We're talking rough numbers. Or not too rough, pretty close, but on average. But $10 billion in compression is only $300. So what would you rather have, $1,300 or $300? And remember, homestead, the people vote on it overwhelmingly. It's in the Constitution, can never be taken away from you. Your homestead exemption will travel with you, whether you're 55, 56, 57, 58, whatever your age, now that it's frozen, 55 and up, it'll travel with you anywhere in the state and any house you own. It travels with you. So the homestead exemption by far is the biggest bang for the buck, and it's guaranteed. Compression is not. I want to address, and I'll take a few questions in a moment, but I want to address one thing I read on social media a lot, and I hear a lot. And it's just not accurate to say that we can abolish all property taxes and it's only going to cost 1 or 2 cents on the sales tax. I'm a math guy. I'm a data-driven guy. I've been working on these numbers for a long time. And as Paul Betancourt says, wait, there's more. Yeah, there's more to that story when people say, we're going to eliminate all property taxes. Well, where will the money come to fund any kind of government except sales tax? So how much would it cost to get rid of all school property taxes? We would have to increase the sales tax 14 to 15 cents on everything you buy, just to get rid of the school taxes. Now, how do I know this? Because before last session, we had interim hearings on this. We had the Legislative Budget Board. We did a lot of hearings on this. I mean, we're not just throwing numbers out. This is what it costs. Now, why does it cost 14 or 15 cents just to get rid of all school taxes on your sales tax, which would be the highest in the land? And I don't think it would ever pass, because to get rid of all school taxes is about $40 billion. And that's what it would take for us to collect taxes to get rid of all school property taxes. And, you know, when I say to people we're getting rid of all school property taxes, some people say, well, what's happening to the school funding? No, the schools are not losing any money. The schools are getting paid because we're writing the check on your behalf from the money we have at the state that comes in through our growing economy to pay your school property taxes. So the schools aren't losing out. But if we want to eliminate them all, it's not a penny, it's not 2 pennies, it's not 3 pennies. You'd have to go from 8.25 cents to 14 or 15 cents. You'd have to double the sales tax. And by the way, when I said 40 billion is what it would cost to eliminate all school taxes, guess what our education budget is? $40 billion. You wouldn't have any money left to educate anybody. So we can eliminate all school taxes through the homestead exemption, lowering to 55. Maybe the governor and the speaker say, hey, let's go lower it to 50. I'm all in, because I believe our number one emphasis should be, and has been, quite frankly, lowering property taxes. In 2017, just to give you an idea, out of our budget that we send schools to help reduce property taxes, we spent $3 billion. This past session, $51 billion. So we've spent a lot of money. About 21% of our entire budget now goes to lowering property taxes. But a lot of people don't see it because the locals are raising their taxes a little bit, so that's why we have to, you know, make sure that doesn't happen, still allowing them to grow, and so we can keep our Texas Miracle going. But we can do it just like we've done it for seniors. I mean, I am amazed in 10 years since we increased the homestead exemption from 15 to 25,000 that we're sitting here today with seniors who aren't paying any more school taxes for the rest of their life. It's pretty amazing. Now, there's also I read it online all the time. Well, let's just get rid of all property taxes. What would that cost us? You'd have to raise the 8-cent sales tax rate a quarter to 25 to 26%. 26 cents. So on everything you buy, 25%. Again, I don't think the people in Texas are going to want to spend 25 cents on everything they buy. It would definitely impact our businesses. It would impact, what about all these seniors who finally aren't paying school taxes anymore, and now you're going to tell them they're going to pay 25 cents on everything they buy? It's not going to fly. So, I hope you all print that for the record. If you want to get rid of all property taxes, if you all want to increase your, I say you all, the voters, increase the sales tax to 25 or 26 cents, that's how you do it. I don't think that's realistic. And then if you want to get rid of all school taxes, as you saw, it would be 14 to 15 cents. So again, we have the plan. It's Operation Double Nickel. Let's give people who turn 55 the same opportunity to get out of the appraisal business, to have their taxes frozen or their values frozen for the rest of their life, and pretty much not pay any school taxes years sooner than now. Why wait to 65 to get this advantage? And I think over time, like I said, we could even bring it down a little less. So we're on a path in the Senate. I believe we'll have support. We've kept this pretty close hold, Operation Double Nickel. But I think the people are really going to like it, and they're going to see the savings for 10 more years. So you're not just saving from 65 to 80, if that's when you decide to downsize and move in with your kids or wherever you sell your house. No, from 55 to 80. Another 10,000 in your pocket or more. That's the way we get this done. We focus on local control of their taxes. We continue to increase the homestead exemption. And in a few sessions, we can get rid of school taxes. We can get it done, depending on, the numbers we have to work with each year. I mean, some years it may be a few billion, some years it may be more, depending on the economy in that given year and the surplus. So that's the direction we're going. Let me open up for any questions.
Did you say there would be a sales tax impact on just the double nickel, or are you just taking out the money?
No. I want to be very clear if I confused anybody. There is no sales tax for the double nickel. There's no sales tax for going up $40,000 again. Okay, so no increase on sales tax. Did anyone else hear me say that? I hope not. No, I'm saying when I read online, we can get rid of all property taxes. I'm saying to get rid of all property taxes, you'd have to go from 8 cents, the current, to 25 cents.
Yeah, I heard that. I
Okay.
just wanted to make sure I didn't miss it.
Okay, good. But good. And then if you want to get rid of all school taxes, 14 or 15 cents, which would be by far put us very non-competitive in the marketplace.
Do you worry about obligating future legislatures and school boards?
So this is, look, this is a great question. Do I worry about obligating future legislators? If you ask Joan Huffman, if you ask my finance team, if you ask my senior staff, one of the things I've said often is we have to be responsible with this money. We had a $40 billion surplus, a $24 billion surplus. We have to be careful how we spend it, so it's spent on one-time things for the most part. Like we put a $4.5 billion into the teachers' retirement fund. It needed a one-time deal to set up their COLA. It's not something we have to do every year. Because when you have a surplus, it's like if you get a bonus in your check. I hope some of you get a bonus from every now and then because you're doing a good job. Don't go out and do something you have to have that same bonus every month because the bonus is once. So we've had the $40 billion because of our strong economy and our conservative principles of budgeting. Then we had the $24 billion, which was really some of the money left over. So I am always keeping an eye on what we're doing, can we afford it? Because I do not want to be irresponsible and strap a future legislature and a future lieutenant governor to say, what were they doing in 2021 and 23 and 25? So I'm always very keen on that because I take that as a responsibility that when we pass the baton off to the next crew, that we do it right. And I said that in 2017, we had $3 billion in our budget for property tax, and now it's 50. I believe we can manage that. And that's why we did it. Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Governor, have you spoken to Governor Abbott about this recently?
Huh?
And if so, what was his reaction?
This is the first time anyone's ever seen it.
Do you
Top
worry
secret,
about-
Operation Double Nickel.
Do you worry about that? Because, the governor and your friends with Texas Public Policy Foundation were very forward about you got
No, I'm not throwing any cold water. I'm just telling you what it cost. Because when I see DeSantis in Florida, his plan, he doesn't say what it cost. Yes, we can eliminate all property taxes. But then how do you pay for anything? How do you build anything? What happens to the Texas miracle when we shut everything down? So we can, I'm just saying the way to do it is through homestead exemptions and lowering that threshold, which locks in their values forever. And think about this if you're a homeowner who's watching now. And you say, well, I'm not 55, but if you're 48 or 51, I can get my value frozen in 5 or 6 years instead of 16 years. That's a big deal. Especially, remember, the median home buyer, new home buyer is 38, and the median homeowner is 58. So now I'm not throwing cold water on anything. We would all like to do that. I just want to put a cost on it because the responsible thing to do is have an answer. Well, how do we do that? How do we pay for it? Look, the governor's plan, I know he's kind of working through it. We'll work through this as well. What I'm excited about, I'm not being critical. I'm just saying what I'm excited about is we have a governor and a speaker and a lieutenant governor whose number one mission, all three of us, is to cut property taxes. And the first, and we control, remember, the state controls the school property taxes. We can by paying for them. We don't pay for the locals. But if we want to, remember, it's 25 cents on everything you own. So that's all. And TPPF, we work very well together. Here's what I know. The proof is in the pudding. Every time we put homestead exemptions on the ballot, it passes overwhelmingly. Number two, it's in the Constitution guaranteed and can't be taken away. And number three, over the last 3 sessions, we've gone to eliminating school property taxes for the average senior. That's pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. And by the way, the median home price I told you was $332,000. But people who live in a home of $300,000 or less, it's 39% of all homeowners. There are people out there who live in $700,000, $800,000 homes, $1 million homes. That's 8.5% of all homeowners. So this really goes to the middle class, even the upper middle class, that we're going to eliminate your school property taxes faster by bringing it down to 55. Again, if they want to go to 50, that's fine with me. We can afford a little bit more. That's what we're going to do. So no cold water on anyone. Anyone who wants to cut property taxes, I'm all in. Just tell me how we pay for everything.
What about low-income families? When I'm talking about low-income
Yeah.
families, I'm not talking about homeowners. I'm talking about renters. There's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of property tax relief, but we know that the rental property tax
Sure.
is passed on to those people. What about those
Sure.
people?
Well, because we do have some compression in the current plan we've been doing, those taxes get passed along to everyone, the people who own the apartments, businesses, and so their property taxes have gone down as well. It's up to them to be competitive in the market and charge a little bit lower for apartments. I've always noticed as soon as someone says 1 month free rent, someone else says 2 months free rent. And that depends on the economy. But here's what I want to do. All those people in apartments who want to, I want them to own a home. I want them to own a home. I don't want them to rent for the rest of their lives. And there are various barriers that have kept people out. I don't want the median age, I got all these numbers in my head, of 35 going to 40. I'd rather see it go down. I'd rather see younger people buying their first home. And one of the things that's been a daunting task is property taxes that every year used to go up 7, 8, 9% a year. And we've got our arms around that. We've wrestled that down. We've made good and measurable progress, but there's still more to do. And this is so cost effective. From 65 to 55 will cost our budget about $1.3 billion. That is very doable. That's very doable. And that's on a biennium, and to increase the homestead exemption to 40,000, it's about $2.7 billion. So that's why I said we can do this whole package for under $4 billion. We're growing. We can do that. And when we're growing and bringing money in, it needs to go back to those folks. Any other questions? I'll come here, and here. Yes.
One thing that stuck out to
yeah.
me most on the governor's plan was the appraisal cap down to 3%
Yeah.
for all properties.
Yeah.
That was, of course, a source of a lot of consternation
Yeah.
in 23
Yes.
between chambers. What do you think of that?
Well, I applaud the governor for trying to get property taxes down low. We can agree or disagree on some things. The appraisal cap eventually only raises taxes. In fact, New Jersey has a 4% appraisal cap, and they have the highest property taxes in the country. So, and it's really bad for being able to move to homes. Pretty much no one ever moves, and that impacts our economy when we're not selling and building houses. They don't move because they don't want to lose their cap and have it go up. So it's something that we didn't do last session and we haven't done. And by the way, full disclosure, when I came into the legislature in 2007, I was an appraisal cap guy, and I learned that it really doesn't work. It works in reverse. But going to the double nickel at 55, now 3.3 million out of 6 million don't have to worry about appraisals anymore because their home values are frozen for the rest of their life. So if you keep bringing that age down a little bit over time and you keep the homesteads coming up, that's how we get rid of the school tax. But look, I applaud the governor. We'll all sit down and have a good discussion and the speaker, and we'll do this. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the governor's plan as well.
I'm not here about his plan. He can do his press conference on his plan. I haven't really looked at it in depth, but I know it's changed a little bit. Anyway, I'm just saying, I'm not here to talk about his plan. He'll talk about his plan. We'll work together, and we're going to reduce property taxes for people. Yes.
How do you want to drive down those local taxes, like you mentioned? Do you have a specific strategy for that? Do you think that special districts like MUDs should be included?
Look, MUDs, multiple utility districts, for people to know what that is, because I didn't know what that was when I moved here. What's a MUD? What's my MUD tax back 40 years ago? We need to be sure that everyone can grow, because that's how you develop. That's why 1,600 people a day are moving here, and Fortune 500 companies. The governor's done a great job, and we all have, of making us the #1 job creator in the country. And so you have to allow growth. But that has to be managed. And one of the things that's really powerful, and I'm doing this one from memory for sure, I think it's Senate Bill 1025, but I may be corrected on that number. It already came into play. What Senate Bill 1025 said, you must put above the ballot language, this is a tax increase. And this last round for those tax increases and budgets, I believe that almost 60% failed in the past, which would have passed. But now people say, oh, this is a tax increase? No, I don't need a $100 million football stadium. Or I don't need this, or I don't need that. So we wanted the more control. And we also passed a bill this session to eliminate the waivers, because, you know, when we said local government can only spend or have their budgets increase, their revenues increase 3.5%, we allowed them a waiver. It was an amendment to the bill back then, I remember, in case there was a disaster, a hurricane hit a town, or a tornado. But too many of the cities and counties have taken advantage of it. So we've eliminated that waiver. You can get a waiver now, but it has to be signed by the governor. So no more of this game playing. Oh, we had a storm here, so this year we can, really raise your taxes. So those two things are important to. Again, we have to grow here, right? We have to grow in Texas. So do our cities and counties, but they have to do it responsibly, and there are needs out there, but they cannot be continuing to raise their taxes. Right now, a lot of them have found ways to go around the different laws we have to raise them higher, and we want to put an end to that.
Last question.
Lieutenant Governor Schwager, Next Star Media. When you guys passed the homestead exemption for seniors this last session, the sole no vote, Nathan Johnson told us he felt it was overkill because it was double dipping.
Who said it?
Nathan Johnson, Senator Johnson.
Okay.
He said it was overkill because of the double dipping of the property tax.
How about if you talk about the 30 who supported it instead of the one who voted no?
Well,
there's always one. Well, no, I don't have, well, just to be very candid with you, I don't have to address every question of one senator who voted against, Nathan Johnson voted against his seniors in his district getting a $200,000 homestead exemption and having their school tax retired. I'll let him answer for that. Nathan Johnson's a good guy. I like Nathan. We work together on a lot of issues. But when there's 30 to 1, I'm not really worried about the one. I'd be worried if 30 were against it and only one wanted it. Okay? Hey, thank you all.
Quick question on THC, what Congress did. Are you happy with that? Is it required?
Yes. This is about property taxes, but I think it underscores the point. When you have 76 senators bipartisan say we need to ban THC in the country, when you had 39 attorney generals the week before send a letter to Congress saying this is out of control, I think it was the right path, the right thing to do. I was working with some of those groups because I was aware that bill was moving, and President Trump came out on the day of the vote and said he supported banning THC. We'll work through that. That bill doesn't become effective until, later in 26, but we'll work through that. The governor and I will work through this. We'll figure this out, but we've been very clear where we are, and we'll figure it all out. Thank you very much.
everyone.
Appreciate it.